Man, I'm sweating already. I'm already sweating. It's early in the morning. It's shady. It's cloudy. We're inside, and I'm sweating. Okay, here's what we're doing. Something kind of crazy. I've never done this before. I say that a lot at this job. We're gonna make some 8x8 posts that are hollow, made of kiln-dried, pressure-treated wood. I'm gonna take these right here. These are 2x8s. We're gonna cut a miter rip on both edges, and then we're gonna glue up a box. All right, me and Jana were jointing here, and as if I shouldn't already be scared of this machine, I started hearing a weird noise, and look at the edge of this board. I don't know if you can see it. Move your hand there for a sec. Oh, I don't know if you can see, but that thing was carving a wacky groove in my board. Anyway, I heard this weird sound coming from the machine, and yes, I am wearing ear protection. Have my earmuffs on, but I can still hear it. Anyway, what we found is that, well, there's a broken tooth, and the one on the edge, that's the one spinning around there. Ooh, watch your fingers. Whoa, look at that. That guy, look at it. Let's see, can I get that? Let me see. Look at that. That thing turned totally sideways and broke in half, and that was chewing the edge of my board off. And well, there's another one broke. I just pulled that one out, and there's another one broken. I don't know what in the world happened, but something, I don't know, what the heck. Anyway, I'm gonna replace these teeth real fast. I got this cartridge here. I have some brand new teeth right here. I'm gonna put those in right now. And the machine's unplugged. There's the plug, there's the plug. We're gonna replace a few teeth real fast and get back to it. All right, this is a little unusual. I went and bought a bunch of lumber for this, and I bought like all the boards that had a bad edge. And the guy at the lumber yard was probably like, what is the matter with you? Because I never buy boards with bad edges if I can help it. But what was most important to me is getting a board that was relatively flat and straight and not twisted, okay? And not much side bow. So that was a priority over having a missing edge, because I'm gonna rip a 45 degree, almost like on that grain line right there. I'm gonna rip the edges on both edges of all of these boards. So like I said, I prioritized it being flat and not twisted over having complete edges. So when you're doing a project, you know, you need to prioritize what about that project or what you're gonna make with it is gonna dictate what type of defects you might allow in the kind of material you purchase. I gotta explain where we're at. So we just passed these through the planer. The only reason for that was to get the thickness all equaled out and try to transfer that flattened surface on the bottom from the jointer to the top face. You can see, like on this board, it didn't even touch in the middle. That's okay. And hey, flip one of these for me here. On the back, okay, you can see the jointer, it hit on this end, a little skip in the middle, hit on that end, okay? That is totally okay. What I'm saying here is that I think I made like a 75% improvement on the flatness and taking twist out, okay? And that's all. That's all. If I went 100%, these would be too thin. I don't want to make them thin. You can see this one's kind of twisted a little bit right there. And that's probably the worst one. So if I made 75% improvement, I think it's going to make these a lot easier to glue up. And I don't want to go thinner, because then I'll just be taking more material away that I want to save. All right, next step, back to the joiner. We're gonna run one edge on the joiner to get it trued up, and then we're gonna pass it through the table saw to true up the width, and then we're gonna run it through the table saw again to get the angle of the bevel. Okay, I gotta show you something really important. This is with almost all woodworking projects. My rip strips that are gonna be thrown away are all the ones with the defects in them. You know, some of them don't have defects, but for the most part, a lot of these strips, they have a bad edge. All right, this is something I'm gonna repeat because I really feel like I can't stress it enough to people who are new to woodworking, is that every time you take material away from your workpiece, you should be attempting to take away part of it that is defective, if there is something defective, so that you're left with, well, the good stuff. That pretty much is common sense and it makes sense, but sometimes people don't think about that if they're new to woodworking. So this little thing that we did just took 6 operations on different machines, and with every operation, I evaluate each piece of wood and the way that it is fed into the machine so that I remove the bad part of the wood and I keep the good part. And in the end, the piece is actually really good. I got rid of all the defective edges and now I'm left with some nice boards. Ooh, KDAT. You know what that means? KDAT, that's kiln dried after treatment. How about that? Okay, I want to point out something pretty cool here. I do this a lot. When I rip an edge, see how I left a little bit of a square edge, a little bit of a square, a little bit of a square. I just don't want to rip it down to a razor edge. I like to leave just the tiniest bit of square, so I never actually lose the absolute width of the board. Some of them may actually have gone all the way out, like that one. Oh no, it's got a little bit too. Look at that, a tiny little bit. But that's what I want. I actually want to preserve the absolute width of the board, and that could be in jeopardy if you rip your miter all the way to the edge. If there's any variation in the wood, then there's a good chance that you'll go and actually reduce your overall width by just a touch. Man, it takes a lot of work just to do something simple, doesn't it? Like make a post. All right, so the next step here, I'm gonna take the domino tool, and every 2 feet where these marks are, 2 feet, 4 feet, 6 feet, and on the ends, I'm gonna put dominoes in the bevel here on the miter, just really for alignment. So when I glue these together, they all snap into a nice alignment. It's really not for strength so much. I mean, it might do something, maybe not.
Baby brush.
I do have a baby brush. All right, there's nothing else to do but glue it now here. So I got my waterproof exterior wood glue, and I've got some dominoes. I even have some pressure treated dominoes that I made one time. I think I'll use those. Although I'll tell you what, the truth is the holes inside of this post are never gonna see the light of day. Hopefully they will never see a drop of water. Let's see, I got a little brush here and my little craft stuff. I use these all the time. These little metal, what are these, like horsehair brushes? I don't know. They're great for glue though. I like them a lot. Okay, here you go. This is what I'm looking for here. Right, whoa. Yeah, about like that. All right, so we're gonna put a lot of glue, and actually you can see we got our pieces all aligned here, clamped up, and a little block of wood that will hold them together. Hopefully this will make it faster. And we're using a lot of glue. Hey, where's my roller? And we're gonna be using this handy dandy glue roller. It's just kind of homemade. We'll just kind of slick it out, and then we'll add a little more glue here as needed. This will work pretty good. And actually, I think this, that Tight Bond 3, I think it has like a longer open time. I'm pretty sure it does.
Dude, that's like a Charlie horse.
Let's add some more glue. Now we're getting the kind of coverage I'm talking about. I want like full saturation, you know, and I don't really care if it gets all over the face of the board. These are all going to be painted. So, you know, as far as glue getting on everything, don't even care. That is looking pretty good. I like that. Let's flip the boards and do the other side.
What?
More glue, more glue. So basically I bought a bottle of glue for each post, and I think that's what we're going to use. If I could have, I would have bought a bigger bottle, but they don't sell it in the gallons like the other glue. They just sell it in these little tiny bottles, so you have to buy a bunch of them. But yeah, 1 bottle per post. That ought to get it, huh? We'll see when we get some squeeze out. Okay, So this is almost hilarious. Like this, it's almost like a joke. This is so funny, gluing this thing up, right? And Jono, during the time that we clamped this together, by the way, it took 6 minutes to glue this together on the video. So he asked me a great question. He said, why don't you just buy a 6x6? And that is a great question. So I should answer that question. Well, here's the reasons. Jono, you ready? All right, one reason is I'm gonna paint these right away. So I need it to be dried. Guess what? A 6x6 pressure treated, it's gonna be wet for probably, how many years? 5. I bet it'll take 5 years. The rule of thumb is for every inch of thickness on material that you have, it takes 1 year to dry. Okay, so a 5-inch thick piece of wood, you're talking 5 years for that thing to totally dry. So that's not good for paint. Secondly, it'll probably twist and warp and crack and check. You know, woodworkers say you can never have enough clamps, and I use 4, 8, 16. Well, I used a lot of clamps. I used whatever 4 times 5 is.
20.
I used a lot of clamps. I'm really happy with the way that went together. Let's get a look inside here. Oh yeah, I'm gonna put the camera right in there. Look at all the glue in there. That's good. I'm happy with that. That's what I like. Yeah, so that made a giant mess of glue on my table. Good thing it doesn't matter. Also, in case you're wondering, I did run this idea by my building inspector before I went and bought the wood. You getting your hands clean there, bud?
I was gonna wipe that table down.
Oh, okay. Jono's getting a rag so he can wipe my table. Clean it off here before the next round. So just in case you're wondering, I did run all these ideas by my building inspector to make sure that he would approve of this kind of a post, because it's probably not in the code book. Like this, not a description of what I'm building is not in the code book, but he said it would be fine as long as I use exterior glue that is waterproof and it has plenty of load bearing strength. That's not an issue. As a matter of fact, the load on these posts is next to nothing. It's holding one roof that would probably hold itself up even without a post under it, the way I screwed everything together. So, all right, now I gotta say that the point of this video is just to show you what we're doing. I'm not gonna say I necessarily recommend doing this because it costs about $100 per post. So it's a little bit expensive. It did take a lot of time. It took, what, a couple, 2 hours for us to prep all this material and get one post completely glued together. Well, maybe not quite 2, maybe an hour and a half. So it's very messy, and you need a pretty good table saw to rip that bevel on every piece. And you actually, it was really good to have a set of hands to help rip it.
Dude,
Look, I'm sorry to keep bringing it up, but you guys actually even have like almost the same color pants. Would you mind just to stand, just together again there? Matching hats, matching shirts, almost pants, same shoes.
hey, when you got good taste, bub,
Hey,
it shows.
way to go. Way to go,
I like
guys.
you two jokers. Nice skirt you got.
Way to go, team.
Nice
skirt.
Nice apron. That's real cute.
Okay, I am kind of wearing a dress right now. Whatever.
You're making fun of me. Alrighty.
The apron, it's for it's for carpenters.
Go bake me a cake, there, guy.
It's for this is proper
I've
attire.
never seen anybody wear that in my life.
This is good. Wow, you must be awfully strong carrying that big post like that.
Got my ace strength.
We have our temporary posts supporting this roof. That is the only thing supporting it. And we're just gonna check to see that this beam is, I'm gonna say, sort of level and sort of in the position that we want it. Then we're just gonna measure and cut our post lengths at the 3 different locations. Just cut the numbers and then jack it up a little bit, slide them in. Holding for sound speed, camera speed. 3, 2. Okay, now that the motorcycles are out of here, hey, we got all the 3 posts put in the front. I'm pretty happy with the way it looks. If anything, I almost think these posts look a little too big. They're like 7 inches square, okay? The original round posts were like 10 inches diameter. All right, so I made them smaller, but because they're square, for some reason, they look bigger. So what I'm gonna do, and this is something I kind of thought about earlier, is I'm gonna put a really heavy chamfer on the sides, on the corners of these posts with a router. So I'm just gonna take the router and chamfer the edges. I think that'll narrow it up a little bit, if you know what I mean, and give it a little more detail too, actually. So I don't think it'll be a bad thing. All right, we're getting there. We're getting there. At least that's what I keep telling myself. All right, we're getting there. So you can see I got the right side of this post routed. The left side is not, because I was trying to squeeze my router in between the brick wall and the post and it wouldn't fit. So I gotta go home and get my little baby router and finish that off. So I need to put crown molding, a little tiny baby crown, around the top of the post up to the cookie. I think that's gonna look good. Kind of finish it off. We don't wanna go crazy, like ornate, decorative. We don't wanna do that, do we, Ray?
No.
I mean, why would you do that? I mean, somebody would do it. Anyway, we're not gonna do that. What we're gonna do is put a baby piece of crown there. Actually, I have one little piece of it. This is a piece of what we're gonna use. Let's see. Man, lighting. Okay, now I can see it. This is a little piece of the crown I'm gonna use. It's the same one we used on the windows, okay? And it's really small. I'm gonna hold a piece up here. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, back up. There. Yep, I think that's what we're gonna do. Anyway, so I gotta make all these, 3 of them. I gotta make 3 little crown details. So what I'm gonna do, so I can get my fancy cutting done at home, is I'm gonna take this scrap cutoff right here of a post, this piece, I'm gonna take it home and I'm gonna make all the little crown caps to fit this cutoff, because it's exactly the same as the post here, and have all the pieces cut. And then I come out here, I'll just shoot them together.